Welcome. I would like to welcome everyone, and I would like to call the Holmdel Planning Board to order. I hereby announce pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, that adequate notice and electronic notice of this meeting has been transmitted on January 23rd, 2021 and November 10th, 2021 by the Secretary to the Asbury Park Press, Independent, the Two River Times, the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board on the main access door to Township Hall and posted on the Township's website. Can everybody please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence to honor the military who have been wounded or killed in action. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, Bonnie, roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerson?
Here.
Mayor Bontempo? Mr. Masso? Mr. Foster?
Here.
Dr. Gilstein?
Here.
Mr. Castaning?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Ms. Plusas?
Here.
Mr. Santana? Mr. Emma?
Here.
Mr. Dale?
Okay,
Would like
and
to sit Mr. Emma?
yes, I would like to sit Mr. Emma for Serena.
Okay.
Then he has to run the meeting, right?
Excuse me?
Then he has to run the meeting.
Yes. Oh, yeah, come on over.
No, it's all you. It's all you.
Come on down.
That's fine. Okay.
That's good. Okay, the first item is for memorialization is Subhash Warrior. It's a subdivision of 5.3 acres into 2 lots. Property currently contains an existing dwelling and is located in the R-40B zone with frontage along Holmdel Road. R-40B residential zone, block 29, lot 39, semicolon, 832 Holmdel Road is for preliminary and final major subdivision number 661.
So that was sent to our professionals who had some comments, as well as Mr. Stein, who had a couple minor little comments. So the version you had was approved by all our professionals and Mr. Stein, and unless there's any other comments, hopefully reflective of the vote.
Mr. Casey?
Did they agree to my request, which was to treat it as a major subdivision for
the stormwater. That's
stormwater?
in the special conditions. I don't have a copy in front of me to read it to you, unless Bonnie does, but they did agree to that. That's in the one of the special conditions.
And the 300-foot buffer applies, right? Okay.
Whatever applies for that, yeah, then, so. And they have to submit for the rule by permit for the garage and the driveway.
Right.
Or whatever the DEP requires. But
It'd be for the driveway, for the garage.
yes, those two. Yep.
And if there's some kind of issue with that, they would have to come back to the board.
Right. If they don't get it.
If they can't get it,
That's right.
if they don't, if DEP doesn't approve it, like,
Then they're in trouble.
yes.
Is there any other discussion amongst the board in regards to this resolution?
And Bill, that was subject to, they're gonna work with our professionals, so whatever that design of the stormwater is gonna be subject to what Bob and, mostly Bob, but Bob and Kate, agree with them or not.
My point was, all of that stormwater pretty much enters that little culvert area, which is a significant amount of stormwater given the driveway.
Okay, so if there's no other discussion,
Motion.
someone want
see
to
it.
make a
Thanks.
motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Jeff? That was Ron?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Ackerson?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Dr. Gilstein?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Plusas?
Yes.
Mr. Emma?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay. Second item is for Bow Ridge. Homeowners Association submitted a site plan showing generator locations for each individual unit. Proposal reviewed by township engineer and township planner. Nothing in the original approving resolution prohibited generators. No variances being requested. It was confirmed that the proposed locations are not located in a flood hazard area. Any discussion?
Sure. Just to give a quick summary, that summary was pretty good. But basically, as you know, the township's been working with a number of communities in order to ensure that their residents are able to place generators. So in the case of Bow Ridge, they hired an engineer and they submitted a site plan set to the township that really showed, it was very detailed, and it showed the ideal location for every unit. So that was really what we were looking for, because this way we can kind of avoid even the TRC process and all of that. So basically, they submitted that, we reviewed it. The township engineer, Bennett Metlack, and I had a couple questions for the applicant. We went back and forth, and basically we've both approved it. And the last thing, and the last note in here, is that there are some flood hazard areas in the vicinity, and so the last thing that Bennett asked for was to show the flood area and then a certification from their engineer, which we recently received, I think, just last week. So
Okay.
we, from the township professionals, have no problem with the administrative approval, and this will allow anyone in Bow Ridge to, Bonnie, they can just apply for a zoning permit in this case.
Right,
when-
and then the construction official
Yes.
has his own guidelines.
Right.
So if something's wrong, too close to something, it
Mhm.
won't get approved.
Right,
Okay.
and so as long as every homeowner, it puts their, generator in the location that was shown at this time, and one thing that I wanted to be clear on to the applicant was that each of the locations was realistic. So, some of them had either like little debris, or they had certain like fencing, and the engineer has certified that everything will be removed and that each of the locations is appropriate and able to have a generator on it. So in that case, they won't come to the TRC, each individual approval won't have to come to the board, it will just be zoning and then construction.
Okay.
They'll show up with a letter from the homeowners
Association.
Yes, they have to.
It's also verified.
Mr. Mullen, do you want to add anything?
Really don't have any further comments on that. It was
Okay.
done by the TRC.
Okay, terrific.
And I just comment, I'm going to abstain since where I live abuts Bow Ridge.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm also going to abstain since I live in Bow Ridge.
okay. We're doing deletion. Anybody else live? Okay. All right, we have, that's what we need. All right, does anybody like to make a motion?
Move. Second.
Okay. Mr. Gilson and Brian.
Mr. Forster?
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Clusis?
Yes.
Mr. Emma?
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. Third item on the agenda is Dearborn. Proposal to pave and restripe the gravel portion of the parking lot with the asphalt pavement. Parking area will remain the same size, no change in impervious coverage. Kate?
Yes, so I think that was pretty self-explanatory, but essentially Dearborn Market is looking to just pave if you're standing on, if you're looking at it from 35, it's the right-hand portion of the parking lot, which is still gravel. And when they came in, I think it was about 15 years ago or 10 years ago, when they redid the front of it, that portion remained gravel, and now they're just looking to pave it. That area has always been treated as impervious coverage. At the time of the previous site plan approval, the gravel area was considered impervious coverage for stormwater purposes. Yeah, I think that they, and our engineer confirmed it, township engineer confirmed it, and I think they were just trying to they probably thought they were going to do this at some point, is my thinking. Yeah, so it's the same number of parking spaces, everything will be even, more clearly delineated. We generally think it's an improvement, so that's why they were looking for administrative approval, because it is very simple.
So people are parking on the gravel currently?
Yes, it is part of their parking area.
Okay.
Yes, and it is somewhat delineated in that, but it generally especially in a site on Route 35 like this, we do look for.
So given that that's owned by Saker ShopRights, and my organization, Monmouth Conservation Foundation, was recently received a donation from Saker ShopRites, I therefore recuse myself.
2 more, and you have to come tonight.
You didn't even have to show up today.
Go for 3.
Okay. I shop at ShopRite. Do you want to say
Yeah, there you go. Everybody should recuse.
I'll make a motion, George.
Okay, Brian.
I'll second.
Okay, and that was Jeff.
Brian and Jeff,
Roll call, please.
I just want to say before we do this that the alternative is that we make people come in like this for a full-blown site plan amendment, which just, that's another decision that's made at the TRC level. Like, is this, do we really want to force them to go through this whole, like, these maps you're getting in this whole big public hearing? If it can be determined to be administratively approvable, we try to go in that direction.
Yeah.
No,
and
it's-
I would
it
just-
saves-
yeah. And I would just add that there is, the development regulations does have a mechanism for that. So there's a definition for site plan exempt, which it has to do with, if it's not adding over a couple hundred feet of building area, not adding any impervious coverage, certain things like that, then we can make that determination. And this was an application that did meet that.
Wonderful.
Okay, Mr. Ackerson,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Dr. Gilson,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Boussis.
Yes.
Mr. Emma.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along. Item number 5. No, not item number 4. The Holmdel Commons LLC. Proposal to remove 4 trees along Route 35, 2 on each side of the newly installed monument signs. Trees were blocking the signage from each direction. The grass landscaping beds will be restored. Again, Kate, Mr. Mullen?
This was very simple. The signs were nearly invisible with the
They were.
trees.
I didn't drive by. I
You couldn't
did
even
not.
see those.
Yeah,
Okay.
when we got this, I said I can picture that, without even just from memory, I've noticed how poorly those signs were. So it becomes kind of a safety concern, and they were very cooperative and willing to replant the trees elsewhere on the property and willing to maintain the area there. So
Okay.
that was, again, was administratively
And we approved that sign a few years ago.
And I believe that they have, they did provide, yes, they provided, they agreed to provide new trees, and CME approved it, and, subject to their approval of where the shade trees would be planted.
Okay, so landscaping plan is in place.
Yes. And the determination was that it could be approved as a field change.
Again, any discussion among the board? Mr. Casey?
Bill, you go to who again?
Sorry, I can't recuse myself.
Motion. You're involved with trees.
Second.
Brian
And Ron?
Mr. Ackerson,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein,
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Boussis,
Yes.
Mr. Emma.
Yes.
Okay, item number 5, Regency. Generator relocation requested by Michael and Susan Tita, 3 Jansky Drive, no issues.
That
Okay.
says it, yes, this was.
No issues.
This is on the side that's not near the conservation easement, they think just, again, this has to do with just where the decks are located, and no issues from us on this one.
Okay.
What is the relocation, from where to where?
It's generally from, when Regency was approved, there was generator pads were usually shown on the side, I think it's either the sides or the rear of the house, and nearly all of the dwellings have been constructed with decks that fall within the approved pad of the generator. So it's generally, they're usually moving it from, it's just usually within about 5 or 10 feet. It has to, it cannot be within a certain distance of their neighbor's property. It can't be within a certain distance set by the construction code of the dwelling itself. It can't be underneath the deck. So that's why we look at it, just to make sure that it does meet all of those requirements. But yeah, basically, the decks were constructed where the generators were approved.
Are those decks the approved size? They're just a different configuration? And are they considered impervious?
When Toll Brothers located these potential sites, they didn't think that patios or decks were going to be built. And so it's caused a lot of ill will, I'll say, amongst the residents who were there, because they have to come in, pay $500 to go to the TRC. And it's carefully looked at. We have a Zoom meeting with Ben Hamlet, Kate, the construction official, zoning officer, making sure it's not within 60 inches of a window or
Yeah.
something. A lot of things are.
Yeah,
My
I
understanding-
understand.
Well, that's all standard for
My understanding with the
generator.
decks is that they're considered like accessory structures to a residential home. I'm not sure if Toll Brothers initially got approval for those or if the residents individually did it on their own basis. But they are, there are zoning permits in place and everything has been considered, there's records of all the decks. So I can't speak offhand if they are considered impervious. They may not be because, you know, they're generally,
The water can flow.
they're kind of on the smaller side, but we can double check for that. But the zoning permits are in place for all of
But,
those.
you know, if everybody has a deck in there, how many units? Quite a few?
155.
185.
185, and if everybody has a large deck, just curious whether they're still within the impervious
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would it,
requirements.
Well,
Deck.
I can tell you that decks are typically considered pervious because you have that quarter-inch gap.
yeah, because
Yeah.
water can
Right,
penetrate.
that's what I thought,
Okay,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
answers.
once water
And as long
can
as you don't have
penetrate and
concrete
pass
or some
through.
pavement underneath, it's able to get right back
Right.
into the soil.
That's fine.
And these don't, so that's, yes, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Are we working with them to bring a general site plan for all this, or are we gonna do this one at a time at every meeting?
That's up to Toll.
Yeah.
We're stuck with what they gave us.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few of these
Yeah,
already.
Yeah, we've had a bunch
I
of
know,
these.
we've done a number of them,
I
but it'd be
know.
good, when are they,
And
they don't wanna
they-
pay $500 each time.
I'm tracking them.
I guess it's based,
It
on the
it all has to
full
do with whether their
affordability.
homeowners association is willing to do it, and I think the trade-off is that they would have to spend a lot of money up front, in order to kind of do the engineering, and even the Bow Ridge application, for example, it didn't involve like detailed site engineering, it didn't involve grading or anything, but someone went out there and took a picture of every single property and located it on a whole bunch of different site plans, and you know, it can get costly up front. So I guess this way they're kind of putting it on to the homeowners, and that's their decision, so.
All right.
Yeah, but Bonnie
Fine.
is in regular communication with them in the whole offices.
And the homeowners association also has to approve these.
Yes, they
right?
have to sign off on everything before it comes to the township.
any other discussion among the board's members?
Move to approve.
Oh,
Second.
boy.
You beat them to the punch this time.
Dr. Gilson.
And who?
Brian?
And Brian.
Oh, it was Brian? I thought it was Jeff. Okay.
You can have the
Negative.
Mr. Ackerson?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein?
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Clusos?
Yes.
Mr. Emily?
Yes.
Last one is at 14th School.
Yeah, same
Yes.
thing. This one has the other note on it because it is on the side with the conservation easement, so we always we always double check to make sure it's not within I believe it's 30-foot required setback, so. Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Brian is on.
Roll call.
I thought it was Jeff that second, didn't you?
It's fine. We
That
tied.
was a
it.
tie. Half
So who
each.
wants it?
Ron wants it.
At the end of the year, we're gonna give prizes for the most seconds.
Mr. Ackerson?
Yes.
Orders at the end of the year.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein?
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Clusos?
Yes.
Mr. Emily?
Yes.
Okay. Marty, you have anything?
Nothing?
Mr. Mullen, do you have anything, Bob?
My only report tonight, Madam Chair, is wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Same to
Made me
you
look
too.
Second.
Me too.
Okay.
Made me look
Second
I have one for meeting.
What?
Planner?
I have one for meeting, this year,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Is that all the stuff you gave us?
That's not gonna be ready this year,
Okay.
so I'll talk to Serena, and see what we're going to.
Have we heard from,
But we're
Okay.
very busy next
Yeah.
year.
have you heard from Family Apartments? Are they coming
I
in
haven't
soon?
heard from them,
No?
they have to come in and resubmit.
Right.
We have Brightview, we have Mumford, and now we have this, there's 4 major applications.
Okay.
Gonna
family farms.
Get us started.
I just have a very quick question. Kate, you were saying earlier about the exempt applications that go for administrative approval through technical review committee. What determines that? Once the application comes in, it goes through a checklist to see if
They
it.
contact us, it starts going phone call, zoning officer, myself, and people, and then we defer to Kate
Mhm.
and Ben to see, as the township professionals, to see if they think that it would fall into that category.
And,
Okay.
and again, yeah, and what I was saying is that it's not that whether so much we think, I just wanna be clear on that, which, you know, obviously we use our judgment, but
Right.
there is a definition in the ordinance, which I don't have in front of me
That's
right
o-
now, but it basically sets forth, the criteria that it has to be met. It can't be, I think the main ones are that it can't add more than a certain couple hundred square feet of floor area. It can't add it can't add impervious coverage. It can't add or require new parking spaces. It can't be a change of use,
Okay.
etc. So, you know, what we're really looking at here is things
this-
like for example, Dearborn Farms upgrading their already impervious parking area,
Mhm.
where they're not changing the number of spaces, nothing about the use of the site, nothing about the access is changing.
Right.
So that way, you know, we determine that it is more like a field adjustment or just an administrative approval.
If they wanted relief from a condition of something that was previously
Yes.
imposed, that's coming back to.
Comes back.
Yes, anything that does not meet a prior condition of the resolution of approval, if it
Mhm.
requires any type of variance or waiver, anything like that is gonna have to be at least a minor, if not a major site plan.
And like the parking lot, if that was pervious, they'd have to come back if they're paving it.
Yes,
So
if that had
they're
not-
changing their
Yes.
drainage and everything else.
Okay.
Right, and if that had not been, at the time of the previous approval, if that had been considered impervious, or if, you know, if it was a grassed area they were turning into a parking lot, that would require board approval.
Okay. All right, so if there's any other business that anybody wants to pursue?
Is there a planner's report?
Joyce is enjoying her seat here. She wants to keep.
No, I can't wait to get to this word. Okay, so, yes.
But I just have one,
No.
just really quick, Bonnie.
So we do have a planner's report.
I know,
You
we
left
do
her
have a
out.
very brief planner's report. And again, these are things that are probably not gonna happen before the end of the year, but, my office is currently working on an update to the farmland preservation plan, which was last adopted about 10 years ago, and it's a statutory requirement that it'll be updated. So that's not on, you know, it's not close to being scheduled yet, but the final step of that, it will have to be approved by the planning board as an element of the master plan. So we're a couple months off from that, but that will be on the radar. We're working with the Agricultural Advisory Committee, and we're working with the county and the state to get
Mhm.
that done. And then the next step, which will not start until after the New Year, is that we've also been approved to update the open space and recreation plan, which will also, that will involve public outreach. That will be, you know, it won't involve a public hearing before this board again until the end, when it is approved as an element of the master plan, but the planning board will obviously be involved in that
Mhm.
process throughout, so.
Do you see that as two separate activities for us?
They are
One
two-
will come first?
Yes, they are two separate activities.
Okay.
Mhm.
And they're both necessary in order to get state funding.
Exactly. It's
Parks and
it's for
recreation.
farmland preservation funding from the State Agricultural Development Committee. And then that's for the farmland and preservation plan, and then the second, the open space and recreation plan is for Green Acres funding.
Mhm.
So, and they have to be updated on a 10-year cycle, so the township will be undertaking that over the next 6 months or so.
Who's updating the Rossi, the recreation and open space inventory?
I think that ends up as a result, I believe, of the open space and recreation plan.
No, that's projection, I mean, maybe it does,
Yeah.
but anything that is, that the township wants to prevent from being developed
Mhm.
needs to be on that Rossi?
Yes, that will be part of the process, the environmental commission will, of course, be a part of that as well, so,
Okay.
when we get that started.
Mm-hmm.
So just more preview of the
Yeah,
next year,
what's-
so that's it for me.
And how long do you expect the open space and recreation planning process to last?
I would say we'd like to finish that in the first half of 2022.
Okay.
The farmland preservation that we have to, the state wants to have a good idea of where we are, kind of by the end of the year. It's not expected to be formalized by the end of the year, but that's the farmland plan is up first. And then the open space plan, we really want to make sure that we have set aside time and everyone is aware for all of the public meetings that we do and making sure that everybody has input on that.
The open space plan that was just passed in the election, that plan has to be approved before the township can actually go ahead and spend the money to buy purchase the properties, yes?
That requires action by the township committee early on in 2022. So they can't collect the money until they've done that action. So, but it's a guarantee. It's just a matter of when they're going to put it on their agenda.
So that gets voted on and the money is collected, but the report that she's
It's different.
totally
Yes,
different.
Totally different.
Yes,
Okay.
totally
So
different.
Green Acres just awarded Holmdel $500,000. They're recommending an award of $500,000, and it has to be approved by the Garden State Preservation Trust, and there have to be bills written in both houses of the legislature, and then the governor has to sign those. So it's a process, and usually there's nothing that gets in the way. It just takes some time. So in order to get the $500,000 or to use it, once it's awarded, they have to have this open space recreation plan completed.
Completed.
Yes, it's a statutorily, it has to be updated every 10 years. So it's really, to the state, it's kind of a checklist item, but it's obviously, very important to do from the township's perspective. So all of the goals are set in place.
And whenever you ask for money from Green Acres, they make sure that the Rossi is up to date. And if it's not, you won't get the money until it is up to date.
So does the town have a list of properties that they're looking at to purchase for that $500,000, or?
I imagine so.
Yes.
Is that public?
It should be.
Yes.
Eventually, it should be.
Because there was a letter, there was a letter sent to the state listing 5 properties that we were considering or something.
No, that was for acquisition,
Okay.
or for
but
preservation.
for
That's different
preservation.
than the Rossi, though.
Yeah, the Rossi is if you put it on the Green Acres list, but you have to have the land before you can put it on the Green Acres list.
So, yes, so hopefully we'll all be hearing a lot more about this process.
So we have an existing plan, but it's just
It's just out of date.
just 9 years old now.
Yep, it's just out of date. And same with farmland as well. That one, my firm actually did 10 years ago, so. the
So
time
we're
has
late?
come. What?
We're late?
No,
doing it?
no, it's just, and I think they were a little, because that one was done in 2010, and I think with COVID, a lot of the deadlines got pushed back as well,
Okay.
so.
They gave us an extra year
So,
or two.
okay, that's my report for today.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the board? Anybody want to make a motion to
Motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, Jeff, Brian and then Jeff.
Okay.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Aye.
Turn off the mic.
Very good.
There was no objectors, there was nobody in the audience.
Party of 17.
Start recording.
All I know is I came with my handbag, I'm going home with it.
Stop streaming here. Stop streaming.
Congratulations on
And then